My name is Angelica Valeria Ospina, and I work in the Center for Development Informatics at the University of Manchester in the United Kingdom. The CDI is a cross-university research center that focuses on the role of information technologies and information technologies for socioeconomic development. And the objective of this presentation today is to provide you with a short overview of the ways in which we can understand and we can integrate the role of information and communication technologies in the adaptation field in 3 levels: national level, sectoral level, and community level. So a more informal objective that I have today is really to get you curious and to get you interested and to get you excited about the topic of ICTs in climate change adaptation, which is an emerging field of research and practice, and there's much to do still in terms of this field. This presentation derives from a 2-year applied research project titled Climate Change Innovation and ICTs, which is led by the University of Manchester with funding support from Canada's International Development Research Centre, IDRC. And you can find further details about the project and about the presentation that I will share with you today in the website that you have here in the first slide. So the research that we have conducted in this field suggests that within complex developing country environments, the topic of climate change cannot be addressed in isolation from other development stressors. In fact, at the bottom of the pyramid, where the impacts of climate change are felt the hardest, climate change is just one among many other shocks that constrain the ability of communities, of economic sectors, and of nations to adapt. Within this context, information and communication technologies are really providing an unprecedented opportunity to improve the creation, the management, the exchange, and the application of relevant climate change information and knowledge to help reduce the vulnerabilities that communities, sectors, and nations are facing in this field. And before I continue, I want to make clear that we are not talking here about high-end technologies. We're talking about mobile phones. We're talking about community radios. We're talking about participatory community videos. We're talking about community access centers. These are all technologies that are already widespread and present and have been appropriated at the community level, especially within developing countries. So how can ICTs contribute to climate change adaptation? Well, one way to see it is to recognize that climate change adaptation may occur at 3 levels: at the national level, at the sectoral level, and at the community level. And in each of these 3 levels, the role of ICTs is slightly different. So first of all, at the national level, the role of ICTs can be linked to the process of formulation and implementation of climate change adaptation strategies. Based on a UNDP model for the formulation of NAPAs, this process comprises 3 main stages. We have a first stage of gathering of information about current and future climate impacts. We have a second stage in which the adaptation strategies are designed and decided upon, and a third stage of implementation and evaluation of adaptation strategies. So from this perspective, ICTs can contribute in 5 main domains. The first one, informed decision making. Applications such as geographic information systems and meteorological systems can provide valuable information to understand both current climate change impacts and model future impacts as well. A second area is stakeholder engagement. Applications such as social media, online polling can really contribute to foster the interaction of different stakeholders and can also help to give a voice to communities and to actors that have been historically excluded from decision-making processes in the adaptation field. A A third domain of influence of ICTs is in the delivery of adaptation measures by providing local actors with relevant information that can help them move ahead with adaptation actions. A fourth area is feedback and learning through applications, for example, online communities of practice and other internet-based applications that can help us give more transparency and help us in the monitoring of financing, disbursement, and implementation. And the last one, but not least, is institutional capacity building. Through the four areas that I mentioned before, ICTs can really improve the ability of institutions at the local level and at the national level to better develop, share, and utilize a whole range of digital data. But ICTs can also be seen as supporting specific sectoral adaptation actions. This perspective is useful considering that climate change impacts are different among and across sectors. So for example, further examples of this are provided in a strategy brief that we developed at the university. This approach includes the use of internet-linked sensors to monitor levels of water, the use of telecenters to assist farmers in adopting new agricultural methods, or the use of community radio to raise awareness on vector-borne diseases that may have exacerbated by the impacts of climate change, or even the use of remote sensors to monitor local threats to biodiversity. So these are all examples of the way in which ICT-related applications can help in adaptation implementation in different sectors, in health, in biodiversity, in water, and so on. In terms of adaptational actions at the third level, the community level, the approach that we have developed focuses on the concept of resilience, that of more specifically irresilience. So our point here is that adaptational actions are just a manifestation of a deeper property of communities, the resilience. And by resilience we mean, as you can see in the slide, not only the ability of local communities to withstand and recover from the effects of external shocks, but also their ability to transform in the long term in the face of various shocks and vulnerabilities, but also in the face of the opportunities that may emerge from this. And within this context, the role of ICTs can be key to enable and to foster that transformation in the long term. So we can break the concept of resilience into a set of different sub-properties that communities either have or can develop, and include robustness, rapidity, learning, self-organization, redundancy. And the idea is that ICTs can help us strengthen this different set of properties, of resilience properties, at a community level, at a sectoral level, and also at a national level. And it's a concept that we call resilience. So just to conclude, we have looked at 3 levels of adaptation strategy and the role of ICTs in each of one. I mentioned the support that ICTs can provide to processes of information gathering, of decision making and implementation within national adaptation strategies. I've also mentioned specific sectoral adaptations that can be implemented and that ICTs can facilitate. And I mentioned the strengthening of resilience of properties at a community level. So the message that I would like to leave you with today, something that I hope that you can remember, is that in the climate change adaptation field, the role of ICTs should not be approached in isolation. The idea here is that we should avoid a stand-alone ICTs intervention. We should start by understanding what are the main vulnerabilities, the needs and the priorities of communities, and design ICTs interventions to support those approaches and those vulnerabilities. Empower emerging grassroots adaptation is absolutely key. Developing country communities have an amazing amount of creativity, ingenuity, resourcefulness that can can really be fostered through the use of ICTs, such as mobile phones, community radios, and participatory videos. It's important to combine both top-down scientific knowledge with bottom-up traditional knowledge, and ICT can help us bridge the existence of traditional knowledge with the importance of top-down, new emerging scientific knowledge. The importance of embracing the informatics ecosystem referred to the need to not only focus on one application, on the use of mobile or on the use of telecenters, but really understand what exists or what tools already exist within communities and how can we really integrate them and use what works best within the local context. And finally, recognize that ICTs are not only about providing information. ICTs are not only about creating portals or creating web pages or databases. ICTs have a very important productive and transformational potential that should be fostered and that can really achieve adaptation objectives.